It's been a couple weeks now since Odell Beckham Jr. just had a dream and a nightmare to tear the same ACL he tore 2 years ago on the same night he became a Super Bowl champion. When I made the prequel to this video, The Rise and Fall of Odell Beckham Jr., he was coming off a poor Rams debut after getting cut from the Cleveland Browns, after things did not go as expected with them. I started to wonder if he can get acclimated into the Rams offense. Well, he did. Yes, indeed, Robert Woods also tearing his ACL around the time of Odell Beckham Jr.'s arrival certainly did open up opportunities for Odell Beckham Jr. Nonetheless, OBJ was able to help a team win the Super Bowl. What's next for him? I'm not so sure. Hopefully the Rams do re-sign him so he can be back in 2023, even if for minimal money. OBJ was at least able to earn every incentive in his contract that he signed with the Rams for the end of the season, which made him an additional $2 million to go along with the $1.25 million that he was initially signed for. So for this video, I want to talk about what went right for Odell Beckham Jr. with the Rams, just as what once looked like a Hall of Fame career took a downward turn. So what's going on, everybody? It's Nick. I hope you guys are doing great, and if you're enjoying the content, if you could please consider taking a moment to like this video, that'd be much appreciated. It helps out more than you know. And also, if you're new, and if you can please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell, your support is much appreciated. Now back to the content. After Odell's Rams debut, in which he caught just 2 passes on only 3 targets for 18 yards, he followed that up with an 81-yard game, and although he never caught for more than 77 yards after that, he was still able to score 5 touchdowns for the Rams after not even finding the end zone once for the Cleveland Browns. Then Odell had a solid playoff run where he caught for 54 yards and a touchdown in the wild card game against the Arizona Cardinals, 69 yards in Tampa Bay against the previous defending champions, 113 yards against the 49ers in the conference championship game, then 52 yards and a touchdown against the Bengals before tearing his ACL in the Super Bowl. Why did Odell find so much more success with the Rams and the Browns? Well, 2 things we can say are obvious is that Sean McVay is a genius of a head coach and Matthew Stafford is a way better quarterback than Baker Mayfield, right? There's more though. Odell had to learn a new system in a very short time frame. Usually you learn the system during training camp, but Odell had to get acclimated in week 10, and as you know, things did not start out well. However, Cooper Kupp has said of Odell Beckham Jr. that he has done an incredible job coming in here and learning as much as he can in a short amount of time. He's a huge asset to our receiver room, so we're really happy to have him. Something that was very contradictory of his narrative in Cleveland, as in his last days there, it was reported that nobody wanted him around. Throughout his career, Odell has been labeled a diva, and I would say as much as I love him, his temper tantrums and openly criticizing Eli Manning to the media made that pretty hard to argue. We knew Eli's age was starting to catch up to him at that point in his career, but right or wrong, that's just not something you ever do with the media. Despite that though, Rashad Jennings had this to say about Odell Beckham Jr., so at least we have evidence that Odell Beckham Jr.'s work ethic was never in doubt. Even when watching him play, his passion for the game has always been very evident. Just keeping his emotions in check was something he was never very good at. Wayne Gallman also called Odell his friend, and he won't speak badly about him. Odell clearly had a gripe with Pat Shurmur and Dave Gettleman though, and I most certainly won't blame him for that because Pat Shurmur was incompetent as a head coach and Dave Gettleman was incompetent as a GM. Still though, there are just certain things you should never say to the media, and that's where I kind of do find it hard to side with Odell here. But in regards to what Wayne Gallman and Rashad Jennings have had to say, of course, athletes will lie too, and they're obviously not always right either. However, if I'm choosing to listen to either the media or the players, I'd definitely rather listen to the players. The players have more access to things that we as fans will never have access to, and it is the media's job to bend the truth for bigger storylines that get people's attention. For what all of his teammates think, I think that it's pretty divisive between what his former Browns teammates and his former Giants teammates will say. I think that their answers will definitely vary depending on who you ask. There was also a report that an anonymous Browns teammate called Odell Beckham Jr. malcontent and that he didn't talk to anyone, not even his best friend from his LSU days, Jarvis Landry. If those reports about the former Browns teammate calling him malcontent are true, it does seem like getting cut from the Browns was some humble pie for him. It was a reality check for him that he's not the superstar he once was before his injuries piled up on him, but if he has the right attitude, he can still help a winning team. He was able to accept a role as a second receiver receiver, would have been third if Robert Woods didn't tear his ACL right before Odell's arrival. Even if Robert Woods still would have been the second receiver had he been healthy though, Odell still excelled in the role as a second receiver behind Cooper Kupp, who was having a historic season and helped the Super Bowl winning team. That's something you can never take away from Odell Beckham Jr. no matter what the circumstances are. Jalen Ramsey even had some great things to say about Odell, that having him as a teammate is great, honestly. He's like the offensive version of myself. Now, offensive version of Jalen Ramsey, I think we can say that more about Odell's first 3 years with the Giants than nowadays. Contrary to what some morons believe that he's a one-catch wonder. But to continue with what Jalen Ramsey said, he's very talented, has a whole lot of skill set, but just his competitive nature, his will to and want to be great, and then he's kind of misunderstood too. Beckham's really a good teammate and people kind of don't have that message out about him. Matthew Stafford also called Beckham a great teammate and that he has done a great job for us so far, and his ability to pick up what we're asking him to pick up is really impressive. Matthew Stafford also just being a way better quarterback than Baker Mayfield also sure did help a lot. Last season was definitely a weird season if we want to be honest, and perhaps the COVID season making the Browns' success a fluke may be a real possibility, but then again that's hypothetical. But either way, we know that the Browns failed to live up to their expectations this year, and Odell Beckham Jr. just happened to be part of a better culture with the Los Angeles Rams. While Cooper Kupp was having the historic season that he had, Stafford made sure of it that Odell would get his touches and make sure that he can fill in that void for Robert Woods as the second receiver. Unlike Baker Mayfield, who repeatedly missed Odell Beckham Jr. when he was open, as Odell Beckham Sr. pointed out, which happened to be the last straw for the Browns. Odell did in fact get more targets per game as a Ram this season than he did as a Cleveland Brown. And also, Odell was able to find the end zone 7 times with the Rams, including the playoffs, as opposed to 0 times with the Browns. Odell's catch rate also went up after joining the Los Angeles Rams. As much as I wish Odell could have done any of what he did in this playoff run, minus the ACL tear in that playoff game in Green Bay when he was a Giant, I'm still very happy for him to be able to call himself a champion and for him to earn a little extra money. I also have to talk about Sean McVay. We've already seen Sean McVay's system work wonders since the day he made his NFL head coaching debut with the Rams. Odell being part of a much more functional organization than the Browns or the Giants most certainly did help him revive his career, and a lot of credit has to go to Sean McVay for that. Both Ben McAdoo and Pat Shurmur were never capable of controlling a locker room, and for Kevin Stefanski, even after winning Coach of the Year, it doesn't seem like Kevin Stefanski did such a good job with that either for the Browns. Obviously, I know way more about the Giants than I ever will about the Browns, so I know for a fact that Ben McAdoo and Pat Shurmur were never able to control the locker room. Sean McVay has great leadership qualities. One thing we all know regardless of who you root for, Sean McVay is someone I can't imagine any sane person not wanting to play for. Aside from X's and O's, McVay also always has his players' backs and has always been capable of accepting the blame, which are both really big qualities that you need to have in a leader. Odell did also say back when he got traded to Cleveland that the Giants sent him out to die, and it's safe to say that he was right and the Rams saved him. Odell got out of Cleveland like the Rams were already 7-2 when he joined them, and as we know, it didn't start out pretty, and the Rams were on a 3-game losing streak when Odell joined them, 2 of those games being his first 2 games with the team. But then the Rams would win 5 of their last 6 games to finish the season 12-5, and then as we know, they're Super Bowl champions now. Now, I do have an unfortunate feeling that a second ACL tear and the fact that he tore the same ACL that he tore 2 years ago, knowing he's 29 years old, will probably hold him back from ever getting back on that Hall of Fame track he was once on early in his career. I hope I'm wrong about that though, but just thinking realistically, I have a bad feeling it'll have a negative impact on his career in the future. But if you're not new here, you know that Odell Beckham Jr. will always have a fan in me. I know Cooper Kupp tore his ACL back in 2018 and he just became the first Triple Crown wide receiver since 2005 while also winning Super Bowl MVP. I understand medical treatment has continued to improve over the years, as Cooper Kupp being able to have the historic season that he had, while many years ago the ACL tear would have been career threatening, probably even career ending. However, just the fact that this is now the second time for Odell and the fact that it's the same year, there is still room for concern there. But whether he's able to to ever contribute to winning again. I'm just glad to know that he was able to win a Super Bowl and for him to earn a little extra money and incentives. I don't know if you can really complain about that. So that'll do it for this video. If you haven't yet, if you could please consider liking the video, it helps out more than you'll ever know. If you could please consider subscribing and ringing the bell. It's free and easy to do. You have nothing to lose. I'd love to have you as part of the team. Feel free to get in the comment section and let me know what you think. I do read all your comments. I respond at least more often than not. Also, links to my social media are down in the description. I will follow you back, as this is the sequel to the rise and fall of Odell Beckham Jr. And it was on that video where I was told that I should make this a series. While I am working on the rise and fall of Saquon Barkley, if you have any requests for a rise and fall video, you are absolutely more than welcome to let me know in the comments who you want to see me make a video on. If you made it this far and you didn't watch the prequel to this video, that is in the end screen, as well as the rise and fall of Isaiah Thomas. So feel free to click either of those if you haven't watched either of those yet, and let me know what you think of this being a series on my channel. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Peace.